My uncle proposed during my vows, so I checked my wife's phone and learned why he panicked. My wedding day was supposed to be happy. Megan and I were at the altar saying our vows when Uncle Alan stumbled up the aisle and dropped to one knee between us. He slurred that he loved me and couldn't let me marry her. Everyone gasped. I thought he was just making a scene because he'd always hated Megan. 4 groomsmen grabbed him and dragged him out, and the whole room went quiet. We tried to save the reception, but people left early. Even the DJ packed up before the night was over. I kept telling myself it was just one terrible moment. Then the weeks right after got weird for no clear reason. Megan would sit next to me, but her mind was somewhere else. Her phone was always in her hand, even when we ate. When I talked, she'd nod and keep scrolling. That first Saturday, I asked if she wanted to go mini golf like we used to. She barely looked up and said she promised her friend Lisa she'd help out because Lisa was stressed. It felt off since Lisa had just come back from vacation and seemed fine. I said Sunday then. Megan bit her lip and said she had too much work. After that, every weekend was another excuse. One night I was watching a movie and Megan was on her phone. She suddenly laughed hard, like someone had actually made her day. I asked what it was. She snapped, "Nothing, just a meme," and went to bed early. I sat there with this heavy feeling I couldn't shake. Later, after she fell asleep, I took her phone from the nightstand. I knew it was wrong, but my gut was screaming. Her messages were full of chats with unsaved numbers. One thread was memes and videos, but when I scrolled up, it turned into flirting. He asked how her day was. She wrote, "Long and boring. Wish I spent it with someone fun." He wrote back, "Next time we skip the boring parts and go straight to the fun." My hands shook so bad I almost dropped the phone. I took screenshots and put it back exactly where it was. I didn't confront her yet. I needed to know if this was real or just me losing my mind after the wedding disaster. Over the next days, I noticed little things I couldn't unsee. Late night texting with the screen turned away. Calls she took in the bathroom. A new password on her laptop. I met our friend Karen for coffee and asked, as casually as I could, if she'd seen Megan lately. Karen hesitated, then said she'd seen her downtown at a cafe more than once with a guy she didn't recognize. Karen said they looked close, like a couple trying not to be obvious. I went home and tried to act normal, but I was shaking. The next evening I suggested dinner at a new Italian place downtown. Us. She glanced at her phone and said she couldn't. Maybe some other night. That night Megan started getting ready to go out. Makeup and perfume. I asked where she was going. She said, "Amy needs me. It's important." Amy was her closest friend, so it sounded safe, like she picked the one name I wouldn't question. Something in me snapped. I said, "Okay, I'll call Amy and see what she needs." Megan laughed like I was being dramatic, but her eyes went sharp. I put my phone on speaker and called Amy anyway. Megan's face went pale before Amy even answered. Amy picked up cheerful. I said, "Hey, Megan said you needed help tonight. Are you home?" Amy went quiet, then said, "I'm not home. I'm 3 hours away visiting my parents for the week." The silence in our living room felt loud. Megan started stammering that she mixed up names, that she meant someone from work, but her hands were trembling and she couldn't meet my eyes. I opened my phone and held up the screenshots. I showed her the flirty messages. I told her Karen saw her with a guy at the cafe. I said, "Stop lying." She tried to say it was just a friend and I was taking it wrong. I asked, "So why hide it? Why the fake numbers?" Her face broke. She admitted she'd been seeing him for 4 months. It started before the wedding. She said everything was planned and paid for, and she didn't know how to end it without destroying everything. She said she thought getting married would make the feelings fade, and it would all stop. I felt sick and dizzy. I told her to pack a bag and leave for the night. She cried while she shoved clothes into a tote, and right before she walked out, she said, "Maybe if you were more attentive, I wouldn't have needed someone else." I didn't answer. I just held the door open until she left, then I locked it. The next morning there was a knock. Uncle Alan stood there sober, holding 2 coffees. He sat at my kitchen table and said months before the wedding he saw Megan at a restaurant with a guy, holding hands and laughing like it was a date. He said he knew I wouldn't believe him if he came to me calm, so we got drunk and made a public scene on purpose, hoping it would make me look closer. He slid a coffee toward me and said, "I'm sorry I ruined your wedding, but I couldn't watch you marry her without trying. Now everyone is blaming me for calling her out on speaker. Was I wrong?"